Today, we are going to see the most exciting and intense munitions of any country's arsenal, the fighter jets for air supremacy. If you are in two minds on how important the Air Force is versus the Navy or Army, let's begin with a short anecdote. On 5th June 1967, the Israeli Air Force IAF played a massive gamble when it attacked with all but 12 of its nearly 200 operational jets against Egyptian airfields. Why did they do that? Because Israel was no match on ground army strength metric. It had 2,64,000 troops against a combined troop of 5,47,000 led by Egypt, supported by Syria, Jordan, Iraq and Lebanon. Hence, the operation focus was going all in on its air force. Most planes from Israel flew towards the Mediterranean Sea and the rest towards the Red Sea before turning back and entering Egypt at a low height to avoid radar detection. The Israeli intelligence picked that time because Egyptian Field Marshal Abdel Hakim Amr and Lieutenant General Sidki Mahmoud were en route from Al-Mazah to Bir Tamadah in the Sinai. Egypt could not take the risk of friendly fire, fearing they can kill their commanders. Before Jordan intercepted the threat, Israel had bombed the runways and stationary planes, making them unusable for the rest of the war. A total of 338 Egyptian aircrafts were destroyed and 100 pilots were killed against just 4 of Israel. The attack guaranteed air supremacy to Israel for the rest of the war, which saw multiple groundbreaking battle strategies, including multiple flank attacks towards the Egyptian front, breaking coordination within opposition troops, stalling Allied attacks of Jordan and bombing Syrian airfields in the Golan Heights. Thus, the Dassault Mirage and Sud aviation aircrafts helped Israel win a heavily outnumbered war against 5 nations in just 6 days. Pretty impressive, right? MiG-21 fighter jet. In front of you now is the legendary MiG. The MiG-21 is a supersonic jet fighter and interceptor aircraft, the first successful Soviet aircraft combining fighter and interceptor characteristics. Incidentally, India is the largest operator of MiG-21s. In 1964, the MiG-21 became the first supersonic fighter jet to enter into service with the IAF. The capabilities of the MiG-21 were put to test during the Bangladesh Liberation War. During the war, the MiG-21s played a crucial role in giving the IAF air superiority over vital points and areas in the Western theatre of the conflict. In fact, the 1971 war witnessed the first supersonic air combat in the subcontinent when an Indian MiG-21 FL downed a Pakistani Star fighter. When the 1971 Indo-Pakistani war kicked off, the IAF was more fully equipped with the upgraded MiG-21 FLs. 5 of the squadrons were pointed west at Pakistan and 3 at East Pakistan, now Bangladesh. A very inspiring story of squadron leader Vijay Karnik and his unthinkable act of repairing the Bhuj runway in 24 hours with the help of civilians is one of the many fascinating MiG stories of India. His feat did not allow Pakistan to cut off Bhuj from rest of India, taking a bargaining chip away from General Niazi. Later on, MiGs were also used for ground support missions against the LTTE in Sri Lanka. Interestingly, very recently in 2019, when Pakistan retaliated to the Balakot airstrikes of India, Veer Chakra Abhinandan Varthaman downed an F-16 with a MiG-21 before being captured by Pakistan and released subsequently. Not too bad for a technology developed in the 1960s, huh? LCA. The HAL Tejas is an Indian single-engine multi-role light fighter built by HAL for the Indian Air Force and Indian Navy. It came from the Light Combat Aircraft (LCA) program to replace India's aging MiG-21s. The Tejas is a single-engine multi-role fighter which features a tailless, compound delta wing design which confers better close combat, high speed and high alpha performance characteristics than comparable cruciform wing designs. Tejas is designed with relaxed static stability for enhanced maneuverability and agility. Originally intended to serve as an air superiority aircraft, with a secondary ground attack role, its flexibility permits a variety of guided air-to-surface and anti-shipping weapons to be integrated for multi-role and multi-mission capabilities. All weapons are carried on one or more of 7 hardpoints with total capacity of greater than 5,000 kilograms. 3 stations under each wing and 1 on the under fuselage center line. Tejas is constructed of aluminium lithium alloys, carbon fiber composites and titanium alloys. Composite materials make up 45% of the airframe by weight and 90% by surface area. Upper and lower wing skins are manufactured from a single piece of carbon fiber reinforced polymer. Wing spars and ribs are also made out of carbon composites. Lakshya pilotless target aircraft. Lakshya is a cost-effective, reusable, high subsonic aerial target system powered by a gas turbine engine and launched either from land or ship. It carries 2 tow targets of tow lengths of 1.5 km, each having radar, IR or visual signature augmentation and miss distance indication scoring system. These tow targets are used for training off-land or ship-based gun and missile crew and combat aircraft pilots in weapon engagement. The drone has a crushable nose cone which absorbs the impact of landing, minimizing damage. The flight path may be controlled or pre-programmed based upon the type of mission. Ajit. The HAL Ajit was a jet-powered fighter aircraft operated by the IAF between 1977 and 1991. The Ajit is a derivative of the British Foreland Nat light fighter aircraft. Ajit had a relatively brief and unremarkable service life, equipping only a single IAF squadron and being withdrawn from service during 1991. Canberra. Canberra was the Royal Air Force's RAF first jet-powered bomber in May 1951. Number 35 Squadron based in Pune was equipped with Canberra 58 under the command of Wing Commander N.B. Nayak in 1958. It was initially tasked with high-altitude bombing and interdiction as well as reconnaissance roles. Number 35 Squadron has been involved in all of India's major military operations. The squadron's first operation was in 1961 during the annexation of Goa when it flew against Dabolim Airport in Portuguese-held Goa. Flying from Pune, Number 35 was deployed along with Number 16 in the opening missions against the airfield on 18th December. 12 Canberras led by Wing Commander N.B. Menon struck the runway at Dabolim with 1,000-pounders. The flight was, however, under orders not to strike terminals and facilities. There were plans for strikes against the DU airport but had to be called off due to proximity of friendly forces. The squadron's first sustained combat operations occurred during the Indo-Pakistani War of 1965. The squadron under Wing Commander A.S. Bakshi went on alert in late August 1965. Over a 10-day period, the squadron flew with distinction and bombed Kasur, incidentally famous for its kasuri methi, a must-have in North Indian kitchens. The war in 1971 provided this young squadron an opportunity to perform to its full potential. During the war, the squadron's Canberras flew day and night missions on both fronts. A total of 92 operational sorties amounting to 900 hours were undertaken, with the highlight being the bombing of the oil refinery at Karachi, resulting in the biggest blaze ever seen over South Asia. While the squadron lost an aircraft and 2 pilots over Karachi, Flight Lieutenant S.C. Sandal and Flight Lieutenant K.S. Nanda, the raid earned Wing Commander K.K. Bhadwar a Veer Chakra. Over the course of the conflict, the squadron earned 1 Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, 5 Veer Chakras and 1 Vayu Sena Medal. The squadron went on alert during Operation Safed Sagar in the summer of 1999 when IAF flushed out regular and irregular troops of the Pakistani army from vacated Indian positions in the Kargil sector along the line of control. Advanced Light Helicopter Dhruv. The HAL Dhruv is a utility helicopter designed and developed by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited (HAL). The development of HAL Dhruv was announced in November 1984. The helicopter first flew in 1992. However, its development was prolonged due to multiple factors, including the Indian Army's requirement for design changes, budget restrictions, and sanctions placed on India following the 1998 Pokhran-2 nuclear tests. As of October 2020, more than 300 HAL Dhruvs have been produced for the domestic and export markets. NAL Hansa. The NAL Hansa is an Indian all-composite, low-winged tricycle gear, 2-seater general aviation monoplane for flight training as well as personal flying. The Hansa was designed by the National Aerospace Laboratories of India under the NAL Light Aircraft Project. An upgraded version of aircraft dubbed as Hansa NG was flown later in September 2021 and expects certification in 4 months, after which it will be acquired by various flying clubs. Huge helicopter Sea King Mk. The Westland WS-61 Sea King is a British license-built version of the American Sikorsky S-61 helicopter of the same name, built by Westland Helicopters. The aircraft has British-made anti-submarine warfare systems and a fully computerized flight control system. The Sea King was primarily designed for performing anti-submarine warfare (ASW) missions. Following the Indo-Pak War of 1965, Pakistan invested heavily in modern submarines and long-range torpedoes. In response, India opted to procure 6 Westland Sea Kings from Britain in 1969 for ASW duties, designated as Mk-42. The purchase also included the provision of air-droppable homing torpedoes for use against submarines. The Majestic-class aircraft carrier INS Vikrant was also refitted in 1972-1974 to enable extensive Sea King operations, becoming the carrier's primary anti-submarine aircraft. The United States sanctions in 1998 upon India as a part of the response to a series of nuclear weapons tests by India effectively grounded Sea Kings because India could not purchase any US-supplied spare parts for the fleet. In 2001, things returned to normal. We hope you enjoyed this brief tour into the history of the flying machines and how game-changing they are. Thank you.